Well, the first piece of advice is you should ignore advice whenever you can because other people aren't you. In 1961, South Korea was the fifth poorest country in the world, and now it's one of the 5 richest companies. How did that happen? Indoctrination is real, and that's what you learn in school. That's why the indoctrination is to get an A.
Hi, Seth.
Good to meet you.
Thank you for your time. I'm Andrew. It's a really honor to have you on my channel because I'm such a huge fan of yours. I read so many books of yours. Like, I'm actually have your books here. The Purple Cow, Tribes, The Practice, This is Marketing, Linchpin. And actually, Linchpin is my favorite. I mentioned your book so many times on my channel, I cannot even count. So I'm really excited right now. Also nervous, as you can tell.
There's nothing to be nervous about. I'm delighted to talk to you.
And before we start, I would like to introduce my audience. Many of them are in their 20s and 30s who are interested in personal branding and self-development. I'd like to ask you about how we can work for ourselves better and stand out.
Okay, so let's understand some context for the Korean audience. In 1961, South Korea was the 5th poorest country in the world. If we listed all 175 countries, South Korea was at the bottom. And now it's one of the 5 richest countries in the world. How did that happen? It happened because you built industrial might. And what it means to be Samsung or Hyundai or any of the other giant companies is there are a few people in charge. And then there's a lot of people who do exactly what they are told. The idea that you can just crank it out and crank it out and crank it out in volume with productivity made Korea rich. And that's what you learn in school. That's why the indoctrination is to get an A. And then when you get to the job, they put you in an org chart in a box. And if you don't do your job the way they want, they just take you out and they put someone else in that box.
Linchpin, you use the word for who are indispensable, right? Can you talk about more what it's like to be the linchpin?
So when someone like me shows up and talks about being a linchpin, being indispensable, that doesn't feel right because the entire idea of a giant company is there is no one who's indispensable. In real life, no one is indispensable, but you can be the kind of person we would miss if you were gone. Probably not as a junior salaryman coming up at Hyundai, but definitely in this new world where everyone, including you, Andrew, has the means of production. If you have a laptop, you have access to a supercomputer. You have access to the giant media network. You have access to all the same tools that a giant company has. And so when we work at a small organization, no one's going to tell us exactly what to do. It's our job to figure out what to do. So what I mean by being a linchpin is to find significant work and overthrow the hegemony of the giant industrialist. Don't wait for instructions, write the instructions.
I'm surprised by you knowing so much about Korean society. I really like your storytelling, such as Linchpin, Lizard Brain, Purple Cow, Thrives, and everything. How could you come up with that kind of idea?
Here's the thing, Andrew. When you were 3 or 4, did you ever do something that was original or funny that no one had ever done before when you were a little kid?
Yeah.
Of course you did, right? That if I go to a classroom in Seoul and 5-year-old kids, and I say, how many of you think you're artists? Every kid will raise their hand. And if I go to that classroom when they're 12, almost no one will raise their hand. What happened between the time we were 5 and the time we were 12? We didn't magically lose our ability to tell a story, to come up with a clever idea. We just let ourselves be persuaded we don't know how to do that. So the only difference between me and most people is I write it down. Everyone has interesting ideas. Everyone has clever thoughts, but they don't write them down. And I just decided it was generous to write them down. So I do. There's no other secret.
I see. The future is gonna be weird and things change so fast. Younger generations worry about their future. That's the reason. Lately, I see a lot of news saying younger generation tend to quit their job so easily or even give up on getting a job because they think that hard working is not worth it. So what kind of advice would you like to give for the situation?
I guess I would say to people who are coming up, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the world is a mess. I'm sorry that the climate in particular is going to keep getting worse. And that's just true. So what are you going to do about it, right? If you're going to be around for another 100 years, which you are, what are you going to do about it? We can find joy in organizing, in shipping, in creating, in producing, in connecting, or we can go home, watch TV, curl up in a ball, and whine about it. One of them seems more fun than the other one. So I don't think you should go work hard just to make a boss rich. I don't think you should work at a job you hate for someone you don't like. I think there are plenty of things you can do, but there are no things you can do that are easy and fun and important. Those three things don't go together.
I would rather and do what you told me to do. My channel's message is be happy by doing what you love, actually. Since I transparently shared my journey, how I'm making money by doing what I like, I even share the way how I made content and grow on social media. But a lot of people still hesitate to start. I think it's because the perfectionism they have. Do you have any advice for that too?
Okay, so let me talk about the first part first, and then we'll get to perfectionism. I think the message that might be more useful is not be happy by doing what you love, but be happy by loving what you do. Because not a lot of people are going to get to do what you do for a living. But if we decide that whatever work we choose to do is work that will fill us up, that isn't it a worthy challenge, then no matter what you do, you're going to be happy. There are people who work at a steel mill. There are people who work at Kia. There are people who work at a computer company who are happy. They're not doing things that an influencer does, but they're happy because they decided to bring a certain energy to their work. And so if we do that, then the next step of perfectionism is worth talking about. Perfectionism is not a virtue. I'm not proud of you for being a perfectionist. You're not helping me by being a perfectionist. It's not a good thing for your customer or for you. Because perfect is impossible. Nothing is perfect. If I buy the best quality car in the world and take an electron microscope and look at any part of it, it is defective. Every single thing is not perfect. So this coffee mug must hold between 6 and 6.5 ounces of fluid. That doesn't mean it has to hold exactly 6.000000000. It just means it has to hold the amount that the spec says needs to hold. Now, if you don't like the spec, rewrite the spec. But perfect and perfectionism is a trap.
I remember you also said we need to work as like an artist. What does it mean working as like an artist?
Okay, so a painter and an artist are different things. Painters make pretty things to hang on the wall. Artists do things that might not work. So when this video comes out from you, Andrew, it will be like none you've ever done before. You didn't know exactly how it was going to go. That is art, to lean into possibility. If you have a job where you do what you did yesterday for cheaper, that job might be important, but that's not art. Art is the liminal space between here and there. It's our commitment to doing something that might not work. That goes against the culture that you are taught in a typical elite school in Korea, but that's what we need.
I think that's the hardest part. That's the reason it's so hard to like an artist.
No, indoctrination is real. It's true.
So most of your books are for marketing, right? But I feel like it's for personal branding as well, because your book helped me a lot when I'm building my personal brand. Is that right?
I redefined marketing. Before you were born, marketing and advertising were the same thing. So most people my age think that marketing is hype and hustle and lying and manipulation and putting average stuff out there and talking about it a lot. I don't think any of those things are marketing. Marketing, telling a story that's true, that resonates with other people. Marketing is building an idea that spreads. So by my definition, everything we do is marketing. The clothes we wear, the products we make, the people we work with, the way we treat other people, it's all marketing. Personal branding is a trap sometimes because it gets us all focused on the surface thing. But all a brand is the promise that you make, the expectation people have. If I see Neil deGrasse Tyson talk about something, my expectation is he's going to talk about science and astronomy and reality and measurement and consistently showing up to talk about the real world. If Neil deGrasse Tyson starts talking about things like card games or chocolate making, I don't know what to do with that because he doesn't stand for that. He stands for something profound. So you don't have to like the Kardashians, but the Kardashians have a brand, right? Their brand is tight dresses, anti-intellectual, fairly vapid, fairly selfish, focused on what you can do with money. That's their brand. They stand for that. If I started acting like a Kardashian, it would be weird. And if they started acting like me, it would be weird. You want to stand for something that is specific and hopefully worth talking about. That's what makes you a purple cow.
I see. So social media has been growing so much. It's a really big market now. That means there are so many people making content. What do you think? What's the best way to stand out?
Social media is not a market. Social media is a technology. Social media is a place on the internet, but it's not a market. A market is where people come together with intent to buy and sell things. And within social media, there are 10,000 or 100,000 or a million small circles of people who you could call a market. There's the market for young, up-and-coming, smart, motivated Koreans who want to learn how to do better. That's a market, not social media. So within any given market, the goal is not to stand out, nor is the goal to fit in. The goal is to serve the smallest viable audience in a way that they will tell their friends. If they tell their friends because it helps them to talk about you, then the word will spread.
Then there are so many social media channels now, but I think there are a big difference between the channels have strong connection with their followers and the channels have no power. I don't think it depends on the size of channel. What makes this different, do you think?
Particularly on TikTok. It's not that hard to come up with a way to get 5 million views. But the easiest way to do it is to be silly and entertaining and to do some sort of weird stunt that people are amused by, but not to earn permission, not to be a voice for change, because most people don't want to change. They want to be amused. So that's the problem with chasing clicks. That's the problem with going after the biggest audiences. They just want to be amused. And so if we look at, TV ratings, the most popular TV shows, people don't remember them 5 years later, and they don't have any influence because they're just amusing. And we're much better off making something for a smaller audience that they would miss if you were gone.
Most of the question that I ask you so far is from the other day I was on live on IG. I'm gonna meet Seth Godin, like what kind of question I should ask. And then all the questions I feel like they are very worried and anxious about their future because since they are still hustling and then things change so fast. What advice would you like to give them?
Well, the first piece of advice is you should ignore advice whenever you can because other people aren't you. But the most helpful thing is find some people who need your help and help them. You can do that over and over and over again. If you can solve problems, people will ask you to do it again. And then you will never need to worry about what's next.
Last week, actually, I got an email from one of the book company. They're gonna publish your new book, The Song of Significance. I haven't read yet because it hasn't come out yet.
Sure.
Could you introduce this a little bit?
So it's related to a lot of what we talked about, which is life is short. We're facing a lot of challenges. The industrial age is ending. What should we do all day? And I asked 10,000 people in 90 countries. And basically what it comes down to is people want to do work that matters. They want to be significant. They want to engage with projects that make a change happen. And the boss isn't going to volunteer that for you. You're going to have to demand it. You're going to have to show up and choose to do significant work, to treat other people the way you need to be treated, to criticize the work, not the worker, to embrace the idea of dignity, to understand that mutual respect is expected, but at the same time that we need to make big promises and keep them. And when we add all of that up, The Song of Significance is a book to read with your team, with your peers, so that you can talk about it, so you can get straight with why we're bothering to go to work in the first place.
Yeah, actually, that's all the question I prepared.
Perfect. Well, that's all the minutes we have.
Yeah.
So your timing is perfect.
Yeah, thank you for your time again. It's really nice to meet you.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure. Tell me how to say thank you in Korean.
감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. 감사합니다.
Beautiful to talk to you. Thanks for your help.
Thank you so much. Hope you see you again.
Take care.
Sometime.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. 네, 여러분 영상 재밌게 보셨나요? 이번에 인프런에서 세스 고딘의 대표 마케팅 강의 3편이 한국어 더빙으로 단독 런칭한다고 해요. 세스 고딘의 마케팅의 본질, 가치를 만드는 마케팅, 전략 수업까지 혹시 마케팅에 대해 좀 더 본질적인 공부를 하고 싶으신 분들은 세스 고딘의 마스터 클래스로 공부해 보시면 좋을 것 같아요. 저도 지금 듣기 시작했거든요. 더 궁금하신 분들은 아래 더보기란에 링크를 클릭하시면 이번 세스 고딘의 강의에 대해서 더 자세히 확인해 보실 수 있습니다. 그럼 우리 같이 열심히 마케팅 공부해 볼까요?